And I think, I think we're live. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
How's it going?
Good. How are you, my friend?
I am doing all right. Really
Doing
sore,
all right?
but
Oh
doing
no.
okay.
Oh James. Oh friend James.
See, in Calgary, we have this thing where the snow melts and then it freezes again, and it melts and it freezes again, and it melts and it fucking freezes again, and it makes these things
Oh,
called
is that how ice is made?
sheets of ice all over the sidewalk. And I,
my
I made
my
the
my BC brain just still has problems with the amount of ice that is here in Calgary.
well, I mean, your West Coast brain. Uh,
I yeah, lower mainland west coast.
East Kootenay, uh, uh, rednecker boy. We got snow and a plethora of it in the mountains, but
Sawasanite.
uh,
We
done.
had the fairies.
Anybody want to co-host a podcast? Yeah, but overall, doing okay. Last night was amazing
Yes, it was.
because we saw the Dungeons and Dragons movie, and it was fucking good. It was like
It
I,
was.
I might try and take my wife to it and see if she appreciates it, which is a
I
stretch, but maybe.
I gave it a I would give this a B plus, A, a B plus to an A rating
Okay.
in the sense that I personally I give it an A, but I know that if I take somebody who is not a D&D person, they're going to be like, "The hell is that?"
So
and have zero context to anything. That's why
so
it gets a B plus for them.
I I looked at it like Marvel movies where
Mhm.
somebody just coming into it that didn't know
Yeah.
anything about Faerun or the Forgotten Realms and was able to understand very quickly like, oh, there are wizards and they do magic. Oh, there are like tall folks and short folks and animal folks and dragon folks and cat folks and things like that walking around. Well, that's cool. Oh, and there's monsters and stuff. Okay, I understand the world now in the first like 10 minutes, right? I
Yeah,
didn't need a refresher course or anything like that to
no, and
enjoy it.
that's fair, and it was quite good, but I think we're also looking through it through the eyes of we host a goddamn D&D podcast.
There is that. But again, critical eyes because I was keeping an eye out for making sure that they did it right.
Well,
And I'm
exactly.
like, should they be able to do that at the level that they're at? And things like that.
Okay, watching the movie, I don't think this is spoilish. What level do you think they are?
Well, they released the stat blocks for all of the movie characters
Oh, did they
on D&D
actually? Of
Beyond, and they're bullshit.
course they are. They're
Yeah,
movie
like
characters.
no one it's more like they're like, "Oh, they're level 3," but they have hundreds of hit points.
Okay, bullshit. Got it. Movie
Yeah, like
bullshit. Yeah, yeah.
they're not
Well,
they're not player character sheets or anything.
no, no, they're not. But you know what we need to do right now, though, my friend?
I am very thirsty.
Yes.
Yes. We need to roll
For
for
beer!
beer!
Is that what we're gonna do now?
I hope not.
Okay, good.
It was a big Amanda says that you need to get a better glass at some point.
Yes, I know that. I
You
need to
ready?
be able to see my liquid, Amanda.
That's fine. 3, 2,
2,
1.
1.
That's a 3.
Huh? Yeah, see?
Tonight,
Huh?
I have uh, another donation to the stream. This is from Inner City Brewing. This is Bad Seeds New Brew. Say 5% alcohol. Listed as dark and dried fruits, apple, and a punch of tart lactic sourness. Again, the grammar kind of gets to me on these cans a little bit. It's just the right amount of bad from downtown Calgary. What do you have?
I have Dry as Bones by Analog.
I see. They're the
And
ones that did the it starts in a tavern and
yes.
what is it? Something else with snake like snack or
Yeah,
whatever it is. Snack.
yeah. Snack. Look
Yeah.
at look at that. Look at that.
Oh, yeah.
Got a little bit of an optical illusion going on there.
That's cool.
Um, but yeah, dry as bones. This is a dry hopped brute ale, as in brute, as in champagne.
Mhm.
Um, so basically, just a dry ale.
Okay.
What it's kind of, and also higher carbonation.
Okay.
So, quick beer thing about carbonation. Um, Beers obviously have different levels of carbonation, denoted by parts per, I believe it's parts per million.
Okay.
So basically, you have your liquid, and within there's ways how to measure the parts per million of how much carbonation is in your beer.
Mhm.
There's different kind of tools how to measure it. There is a tool called a Hoffman, which actually feeds beer through it, and it will actually read multiple different things, including one of them being the amount of CO2 in the beer.
Hmm.
Which is kind of an interesting. But let's start opening these because otherwise I'm starting going to start going on a
Alright.
tangent and I won't shut up.
3, 2, 1.
One.
Oh. So it didn't splatter all over the mic this time,
That's
but it
good.
did splatter all over my goddamn shirt.
Yep.
That's about right. Alright.
Um.
Pulling the dice
Ooh.
out of the cup this time.
Yes.
I I know you didn't.
I know I didn't. It's a
I heard
thing
it.
now.
I
It's a
I
thing
I
now.
heard it.
It's a thing now.
So, we got kind of a dark.
That
Yeah.
looks like a copperish, dark
Yeah.
reddish color. Something's telling me that's around a SRM of 15, 18.
Once again, I would trust your knowledge on that because I
And
don't know.
this is me taking a guess because I can't see through your glass.
Hmm.
Mm,
I can see through this beer
yeah,
as I
and
was
as
pouring it.
yes, but that doesn't necessarily denote the color because the color is based on like, or the SRM is based off of the color. Like this is about an SRM three, four, five,
Hmm.
3 to 5, because it's got a little bit more color in that, from what I can tell, without a sheet in front of
This
me.
yeah, this is, a reasonably dark coppery color, a little bit more, amber than
Ooh,
copper.
ooh,
It's got a nice little sour bite to it
hmm.
that it's not anywhere close to the other sours that we've had on, like kettle sours or things like that, that we've tried before. I like a sour beer. This is I'm without being, like, dismissive
Hmm.
or anything, like, this is like baby's first sour, right? Like,
Not a bad thing.
it's it's, uh, it's a regular beer with a step in the direction of being a sour. It's
Hmm.
not a punch you in the face like what was the one, from last week? Um, one of the not the Zero Issues, um,
Oh god.
it was from a couple of weeks ago. You're like, "This will punch
Mhm.
you in the face."
Oh,
Like
that
that.
was Zero Issues.
Yeah,
That was Innsmouth.
Innsmouth. Innsmouth was a fucking sour beer. This is, like, just the right kind of undertones, so, like,
Mhm.
if something like Innsmouth was
Mm.
Warheads, this is um, like Sour Patch Kids,
Got it.
right?
Got it. Yeah, yeah.
Really still pleasant, still really enjoyable, but it's not grabbing me by the back of my tongue and giving it a shake. It's kinda nice, you
No.
know? What about
Yeah, fair
yours?
enough. Dry as bones. This is interesting. I haven't really had too many chances to try brute ales or brute beers,
Mhm.
because they kind of fell out of fashion a little bit. But this is one that's come back now twice from analog. So
Mhm.
obviously they're doing something correct here.
So it's a seasonal
But
from them.
what it's yeah, it's become a seasonal, it feels. It's got that, that champagne kind of feel where you get that little bit of dryness.
Yeah.
You're
It
getting that off of my tongue, basically, just like on the sides.
yeah,
Um,
back, left, and right of your tongue. Just
Yeah.
that, like, yeah. Why is it making me thirsty? Kind of deal.
Hmm.
Mhm.
And it's making me go, I want more of this.
Yeah.
And it's even although this is what's giving me that feeling, I still want more of it because I want to be able to wet my palate.
Mhm.
That being said, delightful beer, light, easy, carbonation's just bouncing off my tongue.
Yeah.
It's quite nice.
I like
A
it.
little bit different. But the drying sensation in the tongue actually kind of reminds me of something that can happen with beers.
Mhm.
Uh, have you ever heard the term off flavor or um,
You've mentioned things before in, like, not
passing? Yeah.
in so, the thing that comes to mind, because I don't know specifically, is like, "Why does this beer taste like cheese?" And you're like, "Oh, that's because something's gone off
Yeah.
in
Or,
the brewing process." But I get the feeling that this is something different that you're thinking of.
yeah.
Okay.
So the one I'm thinking of is it is a specific one called astringency.
Yeah.
Astringency is drying of the mouth while you're having it. So basically think as you've had a beer that shouldn't be doing it, not this beer. This beer was designed to do this.
Yeah.
But that drying feeling you get. If you
Mhm.
have a beer that has that, that is called astringency. And what it is basically the beer is getting oxidized.
Mm.
Oxidization basically just means that it is not getting cleared. There's not enough CO2 in the canning process uh, bu- 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 to basically clear the air out, or air is getting in or underneath the foam and getting to the beer during the canning process.
Mhm.
But yeah, these are uh, part of the issues that happen sometimes. And
So,
it is Analog is the name of the brewery, by the way.
yeah.
Um, yeah.
The what was the name of the beer again?
Oh, Dry as Bones.
Dry as Bones. Like it. I'm
Um,
just updating the, um, uh, YouTube doobly doo.
oh, the YouTube doobly doo. Yes.
Doobly doo!
Doobly doo. But I want you to roll a d20 if you could for me, please, sir.
A D20. I probably got one of those around, kicking
Yeah.
around somewhere. Uh, it's gonna be this one. It's red and blue. It was a
Fantastic.
gift from our good friend Melissa
Oh,
around Christmas time. So,
fantastic.
well, I'm not gonna roll in my glass, so let's just do it on the table here.
Yeah.
That'd be a 15, my friend.
A 15.
Mhm.
Ooh. Oh, this is a good one. This is I just need to make sure I'm pronouncing this right. Just because oh my god. Acetaldehyde.
Well, the first thing I think of is, fermenting things in a jar, like formaldehyde,
Yep.
but I tell
Um
tell me why I'm wrong.
so acetaldehyde, the word I just said.
Acetaldehyde?
Acetaldehyde. Um it it is basically what it is produced by the yeast during the fermentation process.
Okay.
And what it is there needs to be a certain thing called a diacetyl crash
Mhm.
during the brewing process. Basically, this is building and building and building, and then at a certain point, it crashes.
Okay.
Basically, the yeast kind of dies out, and everything just stops working, or like the yeast stops overproducing, and it basically will just kill that, and that will be gone. If that kind of makes sense. Basically, it's caused by this is reading off the website. It's produced by yeast during the fermentation process as a precursor to ethanol.
Riley,
Uh,
Imma
mhm.
stop you right there because I'm getting a fuckload of sass from chat about how I chose to roll on the desk instead of in a dice tray.
Who? Okay, come on
So
now.
I'm grabbing, um, a tome of dice rolling.
Oh, all right, all
Yeah,
right.
it's them. It's them. It's
It's
the
them. It's
chuckleheads.
them.
It's
It's
the
okay. Yeah,
peanut
yeah, yeah, yeah,
gallery.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's those folks.
Yep. All right.
We'll deal with them later.
Mm. All right. Anyway,
Mm,
it is produced by this yeast during the fermentation process, and basically, it needs to have this crash so then it becomes ethanol alcohol.
okay.
And if you do it too early, or if you try and can the beer too early, what you get is this almost green appley taste. Like they describe it as squash like latex paint. And another
None
kind
of
of,
the words that you're saying make me wanna drink something, Riley.
I know, and that's why they're called off flavors, James.
But
Uh,
I can't help but feel like you're leading to the point of there's somebody that prefers this as their beer.
no, no, there is
Okay.
nobody that
Okay.
normally preserves. Yeah,
Okay. Alright, alright.
you can't. Yeah. But anyway, but there's also another kind of thing, where there's like a slickness. Like obviously we're drinking beer, but like there could almost be
Not
described as
anymore.
a slickness in your tongue because of this off flavor.
Okay.
Uh, Most of the time, most breweries are very good at making sure they're tracking their diacetyl crashes.
Yeah.
Because if you didn't, it's very noticeable.
Mhm.
Um, but it's one of those kind of very interesting things, and it's very preventable because as long as you're keeping a clean or like a clean tank, as long as you are letting the beer rest for the amount of time it needs to rest, it is you're keeping the temperatures at the right points they're supposed to be at, you're not going to create this issue.
So what you're referring to is something that is truly unfit for human consumption?
Not that far
Okay.
because
Because it doesn't burn your face off.
it doesn't burn your face off. It's just a little bit like ooh, but you can also get it in minor amounts as well. Where it's just like you could be drinking a beer, then all of a sudden you're like,
Why is there a weird yeah,
why is there a weird thing here? It happens.
okay.
Um, but yeah, it's a bit of a funny one. I think we need one more, and then we can go on to the D&D topics
Alright.
and tabletop topics
We'll go
because
we'll
I
go
like this.
again in a tray.
This is helping me study. I am studying for my Cicerone level 2. So this is good. I need this stuff.
You ready?
Yes.
That would be an 18. I'm on fire tonight.
Yeah. Wow. Ooh. Oh, good Christ. These are hard words to pronounce. Oh God. I'm actually looking up the pronunciation of this because this is freaking stupid.
Paste it in the chat.
Okay, I
Let me
will.
let me see. Imma try it first.
You're gonna try it first? Okay,
Yeah.
while I'm looking at this, I'm not signed into Google on this account. One second. I'm gonna put this on the Discord here. I sent it
Okay,
to you
sure.
directly.
I will throw it in chat. Uh, so I'm gonna say, uh, try Coloro Anasoli?
I
Hmm,
try chloral anisole. Trichloral anisole. Apparently is how it's pronounced.
okay. You know, let me,
This is a new one to me, but I can't wait for you to hear what the common name for this is. So, um, perceived as old cellar, damp, earthy, moldy, wine cork, mushroom like, beet like,
so mold and fungus.
musty
Oh, yeah,
is the word they would use to describe this off flavor.
dank. The dank.
No, dank is a good word for beer. Dank is
Some
a good word, but we'll get back. That's a topic for another day. Words to describe beers is going to be another topic for a different day.
alright, alright.
But this is caused by usually molds or fungus. contamination of raw materials. So, say you get a bag of malt and you don't notice that it got wet or something like that.
Yeah.
And then it dries, and then, yeah. So, that's where that one comes from. So, this is definitely the kind of, you need to make sure your brewery has good dry storage.
Is there such a thing as um like I know that mushroom beers are a thing,
Yes, I've never had one, but yes, I do know they are a thing.
and I've heard them described as earthy,
Mhm.
and oyster stouts sometimes are made from an oyster mushroom, not
Yes.
a seashell oyster.
Yeah,
Um
so this is where that kind of there's these lines that kind of get almost blurred,
mhm,
because we use the word dank to describe a lot of IPAs. When there's a dank IPA or the dankness or things like that, beer people are weird. Beer people are weird. Um, but when we use these words to describe certain things like earthy could be grassy. It could be the hops that are providing that. There's many different tones and many different ways to describe what the beer is supposed to be.
mhm,
But um when it becomes the overbearing part of the beer is where it becomes a problem, or where it becomes like this is definitely an infection, is where that's all you can taste, or it is like bad.
yeah,
Like, so that's the kind of difference between the two.
okay,
It's like, for example, one of my favorite types of things in beer is Brettanomyces. I love that yeast strain. It creates some really cool and unique products, but some of the terminology you use for it sounds like one that you used a little earlier, cheesy.
uh-huh,
There can be those weird flavors that come from the yeast strain,
mhm,
but it's not a bad thing.
yeah. Well, and
And it
it's when you standardize things, there's a human component to everything, and brewing is no exception to that.
Oh, exactly.
And if you standardize everything to a T, you end up with Molson Canadian. And nobody wants that. Like nobody wants that. Are those
Exactly.
terms exclusive to beer, or are they used for other liquors as well? Question from chat. Because
Sometimes yes. I would say that especially the earthy tones, the grass, the like fresh cut grass is used in whiskey.
yeah,
It's used in all sorts of different kind of things. You probably wouldn't find it in vodka, but you
yeah,
would find it in gin.
mhm,
Gin is very botanical. It's very
floral.
herbaceous, floral. All these kind of terms are used interchangeably, like especially in wine. Earthy, peppery, um, fruity, stewed fruits. Like you can start. There are so many different terms that are used in liquor and in the liquor industry that almost do have double meanings.
It's interesting that um you hear a lot of this for scotches specifically.
Hmm.
Scotches and wines are the taster's choices when it comes to sommeliers and cicerones, right?
Oh yeah, yeah.
You'd never be like, "Oh, pick up the floral notes in this hobo vodka. This bourbon has notes of dank."
Yeah, well, you wouldn't be using that for bourbon, but for bourbon, there's definitely like
I've
the,
had some dank
oh yes,
bourbon.
I'm getting that. I'm getting the vanilla notes from the cask. I'm getting the
Yeah,
slightly cinnamony but cinnamony notes from the certain grains they're using, or uh, from the aging process, or ooh, they use Spanish wine casks, so I'm starting to get those uh, espers of uh fruits down grown down in Spain, and
one we
people can
were
get ridiculous. But
we were
anyway.
talking about this morning because
Mm.
um, tequila.
Mhm.
and Bacanora and like mezcal and
Mhm.
ricilla. What's the other one?
The guava
Pulque? Yeah,
pulque, yeah,
the agaves.
the
Uh,
agaves, yes.
like anything that's distilled from agave. You don't talk about like different notes in tequila or like mezcals. You talk about how smooth it is, and that's like the defining. Like nobody's like
S
this tequila has certain floral notes of X, Y, and Z. It's this is significantly smoother than ABC.
They do use those terms for tequila.
All right. So as a layman, and I will say this as a layman, I have never encountered a motherfucker who took a shot of tequila and said, "Yet I detect notes of,"
Mm,
they go,
yeah, because
"Who knows?"
it's not the shooting tequilas that they're talking about.
Or
It's the
sipping
sipping
or the
ones.
sipping te I have drank some very good tequila in my time, and I have never thought of the floral notes of anything, or like, "This agave was obviously harvested in the Huatuco region of Mexico." That has never crossed my mind. It's always like, "Alright, fill up a juice jug of this and throw some ice cubes in it. Let's do this." I might have a problem, maybe.
We have a few different friends between us that that drink differently. We
Maybe.
but at the end, we're all drunk as hell anyway. So why does it matter?
Or a worm,
Or a worm.
or a toe. I think that's a topic for another time because, like, putting stuff in liquor,
Yeah, you know what? That's fair. I would have
right?
to look that up because
Because the
I
whole
mean,
toe thing in liquor is weird.
I mean, we could talk about the fact that there was a brewery that put a bottle in a squirrel.
Not a squirrel in a bottle?
Not a squirrel in a bottle, but a
You ever
bottle in a squirrel.
you ever heard of the sour toe cocktail?
I don't want to.
Well, you're gonna. The Canadian
Oh
Dead
no.
Toe Co or Sour Toe
No,
Cocktail.
I have
It's
heard
from
about this.
Dawson
Yep.
City, Yukon,
Yep.
where they order a
Yep.
shot of dead human toe added
Yep.
into a bottle of whiskey, and, it started during Prohibition with, like, cases of frostbite and stuff. It's things. Yeah.
So what's the tabletop topic tonight? Ah,
The
boy.
topic the tabletop topic tonight is, as we touched upon, layman's.
Oh.
So, we were talking earlier. The
Mhm.
D&D movie has come out
Mhm.
and is
Yes, 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 yes,
potentially
yes.
I equated it to the stylings of a Marvel movie
Mhm.
because it was funny throughout
Yes.
and it was a good time, right?
I had a blast.
Yeah.
I was laughing the entire time. There were so many little things happening that were just so good, and so many little background, like, this is this thing, this is this thing, the spell is being, oh, I don't wanna spoil anything, so
Yeah.
I'm not gonna
No
say anything
no
more.
no spoilers just yet. Um it it was really good and I feel like a bunch of people can or will enjoy it uh
Mhm.
despite not necessarily being a fan of the hobby or understanding a lot of the source material. So, one of the things I wanted to talk about tonight is tangential nerddom
'Kay.
and uh, a little bit of gatekeeping, and when popular media brings people to the hobby.
Ah,
So,
okay.
what I mean by that, tangential nerddom. We've had a bunch of conversations with Melissa about how she's worried that, like, or not worried, but we make a comment or a reference, and she's like, "Ha ha ha! I'ma Google this later," but still maintains nerd cred on a bunch of other things because it's pop culture references aside, because it's a thing.
Yep.
Uh, she is a huge Whovian fan,
Yes, she
probably
likes the
probably
Doctor Who.
more so than me.
Mhm.
Um, that sort of thing, and the term tangential nerddom or like tangential nerds gets bandied around every now and again, where it's like you're
Yeah.
kind of a nerd because you have one specific thing that you nerd out about. but in our, uh, we'll call them circles, there is so much like, "Hey, what? You've never seen Scott Pilgrim or read all of the comic books that go along with it? Well, how dare you have homework to do." That kinda stuff, right?
Yes, I have totally read all of the Scott Pilgrim.
You fucking better have. It's amazing. But
But
you
hey,
you
look
see
at
what
that
I'm
reaction you just gave me.
you see what I mean? It's visceral. It's like, "What do you mean you don't, like love Marvel movies or, like, XYZ or, like, haven't seen 80 hours worth of, like, this anime series or Pokemon or
Yeah,
whatever," right?
exactly. I mean, it happens. You're very correct. It happens all the time. Where if you don't keep up with whatever like you said XYZ, you're missing out. You're not a true fan. You're not this. You're not that.
Yeah. So so these things occur, on a pretty regular basis. I am
Mhm.
I am I am guilty of this sometimes, but in a loving way of, like, "These are amazing things, and I want to share them with you so you understand."
Yes.
Right? In the same way of, like, I have tried the best cake in the world, and now I want everybody to have some, right?
Yes.
But unfortunately, it often, presents as, "I have a laundry list for you of things that you must consume."
Oh my god. You like space stuff? Oh my god. You need to play Mass Effect, and then you start going into
Yeah.
this, or you.
I never played Mass Effect. Yeah, yeah, I see that look. I understand the gist
Yeah.
of it, right? Like, through popular culture and stuff. I didn't have any of the consoles that it was available on or, a gaming worthy PC for that duration.
And
I
and
was busy MMOing at the time.
And there you go.
Yeah,
And that's the thing. People have different times and different timings for everything
exactly.
because that's the way it goes. Um, but yeah, the whole tangential nerdism thing. I mean, I'm a guy. I've gone to Comic Con. I've gone to
Mhm.
PAX. I've gone to all these different conventions. I am a person who has a lot of those kind of nerdy hobbies, those nerdy kind of surroundings.
It is hard to not feel like an imposter in those places sometimes because it's like, I like A, B, and C, but I don't like this as much as you guys obviously like this, and I don't
I
like that as much as you guys obviously like this.
I thought I was a pretty big nerd. I read comics, I played video games, I play D&D, I collect board games. Pretty nerdy guy.
Reasonably so.
Oh my god, I'm
I mean,
wrong.
you remember to shower and all of that. You don't have body pillows with people's faces on them that I
Sure,
know of.
sure.
I mean, sure. Um, but yeah,
I
but
do not actually have a body pillow.
I am very much an eclectic sort of nerd.
Yes.
I will sample everything and be like, "Cool, I get the gist of this," or I'll binge something 10 years ago and then, like, never look at it again, right?
Yeah.
Um, Very rarely am I like, "Oh, somebody said I needed to watch this, I need to go watch it." Like, there's I have a hard time with that kinda stuff. It needs to
Mhm,
be interesting for me to care.
mhm.
But what I'm getting at, though, is all of these things exist already in our nerd culture.
Yes.
We are so hard on each other about the very specific kind of nerd or kind of interests that we have. You're
Very much
you're
so.
you're a board game nerd. I'm a board game nerd. I like a bunch of different board games. I love playing board games from time to time. The very specific kinds of board games.
Yep.
I don't want to play board games every week or every weekend or things like that. Like, they're fun, but I only got so much time, right?
And that's fair.
My partner is a board game nerd. Like, if she would play board games the majority of waking moments that she had the spoons to do so. And I'm like, "That's a lot of fucking board games." Like,
But
but I don't feel
here
like I lose board game cred by doing so, you know?
no. But I mean, like, and I know people who are those kind of nerds. I went to a board game store or like a comic book store back in my hometown, and uh, we would play. I kid you not, if it was my day off, I'd be there at open and I would leave at close. And I played probably 10 to 15 games in that day.
D&D was my thing for that. I would
Exact.
show up at one of our unfortunately, Revolution's not here anymore, one of the board game shops here in Calgary.
Mhm.
But we'd show up on a Saturday and play from, like, 8 a.m. until, like, 6 p.m.
Yeah,
And we just run through a couple of campaigns through the day, stop for lunch, and off we go. That's where
exactly.
that's where the community games for the Calgary D&D group that we have on Facebook started from.
Yeah. And that makes sense.
Yeah. Um, so the point I'm getting to is all of these
Yes.
things exist. Gatekeeping's been a problem in our hobby for a long time, from like a tabletop um, perspective.
If we can be frank here, it's been a problem in nerd culture in general
Yeah,
for a very long time.
but I'm leaning more towards like D&D in this specific
And
context
that's fair.
for the example. Like
Yeah.
the amount of times that I showed up at Game Store and we were playing even when we were doing all the playtesting for D&D Next,
Yep.
um people would show up to play and it was just like it was bitter, and, like, there were just, like, the kind of people that would show up, and it's like, "I don't wanna interact with you as a human being, never mind willingly spend my time with these kind of people, because
Yep.
the negativity flows like Emperor Palpatine, like, "Yes, yes, feel the
Yeah.
hate." Like, I don't need that, or
No.
the wicked judgment of stuff or anything like that, or the the blatant sexism that has existed for
Oh
a very
god.
long time of, "Oh, no." Our friend David has a good, TikTok on his channel for Alone Donut, where he's like, "Ladies, I understand why you don't wanna go into game stores. Like, I get it." And it's brilliant. It, s summarizes the point eloquently.
Yeah. And just on a point of that, like just I used to be a lot more into board game miniatures and stuff like
Mhm,
that. I still do like board game miniatures if I ever get a chance to play them,
mhm.
but that is a industry that is absolutely rampant with sexism. And
Yes.
it is absolutely horrible because there are people who want to play this game who get scared out because there are so many people who are just assholes.
Yep. That's one of the reasons that we did the whole, Calgary community D&D groups, is
Mhm.
you should be able to show up and bring your kids and learn how to do a thing, right?
Yeah,
Like, we run community games
100%.
from time to time where it's like, parents show up, bring their kids, learn how to play, or drop their kids off and will play, or play with us, right?
Yeah,
Or somebody's new, "I
100%.
wanna join a pickup game." Absolutely, let's do this, because the hobby is improved by having
100%.
people, brought in a loving way.
And from all sorts of strolls of life.
Absolutely,
That's
yeah,
how we learn and that's how we improve our own game is we learn from other people's stores.
yeah. So, popular media, when D&D is, brought up, and I say D&D, but I mean, like, tabletop in general,
Yeah,
I use the term Dungeons& and Dragons as though it were Kleenex, Band-Aid, and rollerblades,
I was
because
just about to say that.
yeah. It's not that one particular system that's owned by Wizards of the Coast right now as the stewards of it, blah, blah, blah. Like, it didn't
Yeah,
matter
yeah.
if we were playing GURPS, it didn't matter if we were playing Pathfinder, didn't matter if we were playing Thirsty Sword Lesbians. It was D&D night, right?
It was
So,
D&D night. That
yeah,
that's
I'm
how it
not
worked.
inline skating, I'm rollerblading. Like, it's a thing. Um, and yet, strangely enough, it still pisses me off when people call all cell phones iPhones. Huh, anyways. It's one of those things.
Because Android nuts.
Shit. Blah. Anyways, so we have in popular culture, D&D's been getting more and more and more notoriety. You know, movie aside, right? It shows up in shows. s- Community, Critical Role becomes a thing, and it becomes kind of a mainstream popular thing. It shows up in things like The Big Bang Theory, and they're like, "Oh, well, that seems kind of interesting. How do I get into that?" And the the new D&D movie, there are people that are gonna see it that have no idea what it's about and be like, "Oh, that looks really cool. It's like a Marvel movie. Let's do this." And might
And
get
they're
into
gonna
the
go in
hobby.
and they're gonna love it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So, it comes down to how do we make sure that the people that are looking the surge of people that are entirely brand new get without a patronizing, like, consoling pat on the back or a pat on the head, like, how do they get brought in a positive way, given what they need, and welcomed properly? Because there's a lot of,
Oh,
like the min-maxer community, for instance, is not necessarily the folks to do this. I am really
no.
having issues with
Um,
this cable tonight on my camera. I should do something about that.
yeah.
Yeah. Um,
Well, then I can. But I was gonna say, like, you're very right. There almost needs to be that almost ambassador type person to try and just bridge that gap a little bit.
yep. Well, and that's part
From
of what we
somebody who
try and
plays too
do.
much.
Yeah. That's part of what we try and do with, our online community, right? Like
Yep.
the Calgary D&D group that we have, primarily on Facebook, and then we've got a Discord for it, is the idea of it is it doesn't matter if you're a new player, an old player, or whatever. You can come in, you can ask questions, you can find groups that are open to new players, that sort of thing.
Yep.
Um,
100%.
get help for builds, understand rules, all of that jazz. But
One of the things I found pretty funny actually was today I saw a bunch of new people join that Discord today actually.
yep,
And it was actually kind of cool to see.
yeah, and a lot of them are folks that played D&D back in the 70s and the 80s that they're trying to get back into it because it's
Yeah.
suddenly this mainstream thing again, right? Or somebody had this certain like hesitation about loving something because it didn't seem cool in their brain for a little bit. And it's like love the
Yeah,
things that you love. Don't be ashamed of the things that you love and find cool. As long as it's not hurting
exactly.
anybody, fuck them.
Then why does it matter?
Exactly.
Yeah,
As long as it's not hurting nobody, it's fine.
exactly. And yeah, there's a lot of really kind of interesting thoughts when it comes down to um being that accepting group, bringing people in,
Mhm.
and doing that. And there's a YouTuber, of course, who does a very, very good job of that, and his name is Joe Cat.
I so I like a lot of Joe Cat stuff.
Yeah.
I do not like their crap guide to like D&D and
Really?
everything else.
Oh, I love that. I love it so much.
It a lot of it like again, I'm a big fan of the channel, but a lot
Mhm.
of it like perspectives aside, it struck me as like almost patronizing for some of it. And I'm like, this is not what I would recommend to somebody right off
No,
the hop.
it's
Like
definitely
it's
it's
funny looking at it outside in from the hobby, but if there was somebody
yes.
first coming into things, I wouldn't. And like Critical Role tried to do something similar with Handbook or Helper, and
Yes.
it wasn't great.
I I I I personally liked it, just speaking about Joe Cat, I personally liked his brand new video that came out about just a few days ago.
Mhm.
The one called Grab Your Friends. It's a D&D
Yes,
song, and
that was solid.
that
That
is
was solid.
that like those kind of the people who do that kind of outreach like that,
Mhm.
where it's like literally it says, don't be afraid to fuck up
Yeah.
because you're going to embrace it. Learn for next time. Try
You know,
again. And
I
like good messages.
going to link that in the
Yeah.
chat actually because it's worthwhile. And again, this isn't going to make much sense for people on the podcast, but
Yeah.
Jocat, Jocat on YouTube, um, they do good work. And the
Yeah.
Grab Your Friends D&D animation, it's sponsored by Wizards of the Coast, and it's actually quite good.
Yeah.
It got sponsored by the movie,
Yeah.
but
And there's just all those kind of brilliant things. There's brilliant creators who do those very I just want to say better kind of feeling videos. Yeah, the crap guide to D&D is tongue in cheek and it is very tongue in cheek, but it's meant to be that way for it.
You know what the best experience I had for teaching a lot of new players how to do it right
Mm.
is, one of the people in chat, uh, Nadine, they do a bunch of the some of the maps and stuff, that we've used in the past were done by them. They have an Incarnate, shop as well. Um, they organized that whole, West Marches game that, Tracy and I did for, about a year,
Oh, okay.
quite a while back.
Yeah.
And the number of, like, completely new players that joined that was pretty solid. Like, we had, like, 30 or 40 active players in it, grabbing games and stuff. And a lot of those folks that jumped in had never played D&D before, or, like, had tangentially seen it once or twice, or,
Yeah.
like, watched a couple episodes of Critical Role and were like, "Oh, I wanna try this," like, and again, it's a big community outreach thing, and it was a lot of work on
Oh,
the
yeah.
part of a lot of people, right? Like, I spent a lot of time, and Nadine spent a lot of time putting things together, but that's how you build your community, and
It takes time.
it takes time and it takes effort. As an aside, like, I've got a bunch of guitars and amps and gear and stuff behind me. I like playing music.
Yes.
And one of the things that I like doing for the music community, like, in the same sort of vein, is you support local shows and show
Yeah.
up, buy tickets, that sort of thing. I got little kids. I I can't go to a bunch of local shows the majority of the time. But one of the things that I like doing is combing marketplace for broken down, beat up ass guitars, and I bring them home. I'll buy something for like 20 bucks or 50 bucks or whatever,
Yeah.
and I can put like 15 or $20 worth of parts into it and take some time and fix it, and then I go donate them, right?
There you go.
So I've donated a bunch to School of Rock and just like, uh, friends who couldn't necessarily afford stuff for their kids, that sort of thing.
Makes
And
sense.
because that's how you support uh, your local music scene.
And that makes
How do
sense.
you support your local gaming community? You host
Going
events for them to show up to,
Yeah.
right? A couple of months ago, we put on a thing through D6 Board Game Cafe, and we said we're gonna host a thing for a bunch of neurodivergent kids. Show up, play. We have people that are familiar with a lot of the intricacies of neurodivergence, and you want to play with your kids. You want to play, or drop them off and let them have a good time for 4 hours in a safe, like, caring environment, and let them have a good time. We will do that. Off you go.
Yeah.
And it's not because it's a marketing ploy or anything like that. It's That's how you build your community, because you take the time to inspire the folks that want to get into it, because then they'll do the same,
Exactly.
right? The better stories that we all tell together, everybody's going to have a good time. We're
There
going to
there
Oh, go ahead.
But I was gonna say that there was a program by a company called Privateer Press. They're a
Why does that ring
miniatures.
a bell?
They make War Machine and
Okay.
war hordes.
Okay.
They used to have a thing called press gangers.
Mhm.
What was a press ganger? A press ganger was somebody who convinced people to join pirate ships.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
So, press gangers were people who worked out of different hobby stores. They
yeah,
didn't work, but they volunteered to teach the game and do things like that. And Privateer Press recognized them and used to send patches or other things like that to these people to show their appreciation.
yeah.
But because of the kind of judge magic thing that happened, they had to cancel the program, which really sucked.
Yeah.
But those are the kind of things that build communities when there are those people that are passionate about it and want to do it.
That's why I liked DMing for, like, Adventures League. But again, it's hard to maintain that schedule constantly,
Oh, yeah.
right? So, we I showed up to Adventures League to find a bunch of good players to play in other D&D games, and I don't mean good as in, like, really know what they're doing, as in like enthusiastic people that were going to show up.
Oh yeah.
And we had a lot of really good games, and we built out like we had 4 or 5 tables all playing modules sometimes in a game
Oh yeah.
store. So 4 DMs all running the same module for 4 or 5 players, and you could come in reasonably the next week or 2 weeks in because we did it sometimes biweekly.
Yeah.
Um, and it doesn't matter if your DM wasn't there; you could sit down and join a table and reasonably be at about the same place that you were before. Suspension of disbelief a little bit.
Of course.
Um, but part of that goes into um so how we run our games when we're playing 5e on our stream.
Mhm.
I try and eschew homebrew as much as I can, especially
Mhm.
overly complicated homebrew. And a big part of that is because anybody that's tuning in, say you've got somebody new that they've got a player's handbook, and
Yeah.
that's all. They should be able to recognize what's happening on stream and be like, "I know what that is. That's on
Yeah.
that's on page 37.
Yeah.
I see that. I know that." And that's how you they're doing what I do.
Yeah.
That's
Exactly.
that's how you encourage your community. Um, w that's one of the reasons that I like playing rules as written for the most part, not because I dislike reflavoring. I'll reflavor everything, but
Atomic karate kick?
Atomic Karate, yeah, yeah, it's just a spell in a book.
Yeah.
Um, so one of the things that we're planning to do beyond this is later in the year. I was talking with some of the organizers for FallCon here in Calgary. It's one of the
Yes.
largest board game conventions in Canada,
Yes, it is.
in North America, I think. Um,
Uh, PAX kind of takes those now, but
so
anyway, that's
so PAX isn't strictly a board game convention.
they actually have, like, an entire they rent out a hotel now. But anyway
I
anyway,
I
that's
I
bes
under I understand, but,
tomatoes,
this
tomatoes.
this is like people showing up that playtest board games and get people to come in and like, "Should I
Yeah,
kickstart this?" Off you go. So, what we're gonna look to do is rent a bunch of tables or, like, go in as presenters, and maybe we can have some sign-up sheets or some drop-in sheets or whatever. There's some logistics to figure out for it, and have folks come in. We'll teach them how to play. We'll run them through some simple modules that we write. Or,
fantastic.
like, sit them down and be like, "You're gonna paint goblins today," and you can take the goblin home. Because there's so many things where it's like, "Oh, those things look really cool, I could never do that," and it's like, "Really? What what's stopping you? You are a YouTube video and an Amazon cart order away from doing this stuff,
Exactly.
right?" That is literally all it takes. And or borrowing the Amazon cart thing, if you just wanna play it, free phone apps. It's fine. Don't even need dice, just need a phone. It's a thing.
Don't
But
you have phones? Sorry.
unfortunately, Enos doesn't have a phone.
Sorry.
It's okay.
God
His
damn it, Blizzard. Um
phone doesn't have a oh, that's the reference you were making. Yeah, the Blizzard was making some right, um those were the best decisions ever.
Oh,
Like, that's some top-notch, hamstringing your own community, Blizzard, but
oh my god.
that's a
Anyway,
topic for another day.
how to alienate your audience.
So, if you haven't seen the Dungeons& and Dragons movie yet, uh,
Go see it.
go see it. It was really good.
It
Like,
was.
you know you know what I love the most?
Mm,
The callbacks, all of the Easter eggs, the little things that I was like, "I know that. I know that. I played that. That's from that module that Ryan ran us through."
potatoes.
Well, and potatoes, yes. But no, like, it was really good. And, how familiar are you with actual plays?
With
Like
actual
like
plays?
like the
Like,
original D&D podcasts that started way, way, way back when.
not too much.
So, do you know, Deborah Ann Wall?
The name sounds familiar.
So, Deborah Ann Wall she ran Relics and, Rarities.
Mhm.
Um, Chris Hardwick was in it, Ashley Johnson was in it.
Oh,
Um,
oh, whoa.
yeah. Uh,
Okay.
they this is like 7 years ago. It was a TV series that Blizzard put out. Matt Mercer was a part of it, Brian Posehn was a part of it, Dylan Price Sprouse was a part of it. They were basically like um it was basically like a Critical Role style thing made up of celebrities
Right.
that sat down and played D&D together. And Matt Mercer DM'd a lot of it, but wasn't the only DM for it.
Mhm.
And they kind of paved the way for a lot of like actual plays because
Mhm.
they showed that you could do it differently than say what Acquisitions Incorporated was doing it. Yeah, Relics and Rarities was the Deborah Ann Wall stream.
Okay.
Um, that was the first instance of people seeing her playing D&D. Uh, they got shout outs in the movie, and you would have it was a blink and a miss it sort of thing of like costume choices. It's like you see a bunch of people on screen, and it's absolutely their characters as a group.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then they got, like, name dropped and stuff like that. Or, like, 80s cartoon show stuff and, like,
Uh, yeah.
lots of good memes and things like that.
Yeah, but we won't go too much more into it because
No spoilers or
no
anything like that.
spoilers. No.
It's just those were the things that I'm like, "That that that is worth my ticket price of admission right here."
Chonk.
Yeah, exactly.
Chonk.
But this is good. I liked it.
It's good.
What are we gonna talk about next time?
Oh, if we're gonna be talking about the next beer topic,
Mhm.
what was that we were when we were talking there? What was that thing that we said or that I said was kind of sideways or kind of prevalent? Naming conventions for beers, like
Yeah.
the different kind of what are good words, what are bad words, what are words in beer?
I like that. That's that is 100% what we look at, and I think,
Hmm.
by the time we roll the next one, we might have, another playtest packet out for 1D&D. So, I should
Ooh.
actually retcon myself a little bit. We're gonna talk about errata because I'm
Ooh,
retconning
even
myself.
better.
So, errata is a prevalent thing in our, hobby,
It's a prevalent thing in a lot of nerdy hobbies.
and I need to correct myself because last week I said paladins can't smite with anything except for paladin spells, and they errated the shit out of that, saying that if you like subbed to another class, you could use those spells for your smites as well. But that came later because my player's handbook is from 2014, and that wasn't errated until like 2017. But you know,
Fair enough.
it's
Well,
a thing.
heck yeah.
So next time we're going to talk about errata and
Yeah.
modifiers.
You know what? That sounds like a great idea because, what else can you do but change
I
it
said
up?
errata, not a cata. There's the cat on screen for the podcast.
I'm trying to get her to meow, but she won't.
Meow. I like it. But that said, thank you all for stopping by. If you like what we're doing, please comment in the video, not just in the chat, but on the video itself. Like,
Yeah.
subscribe, share it out with your friends. If you're so inclined, there's some links in there. You can buy us a beer or coffee or anything like that. We accept multiple beverages. We have many
Coff,
mouths,
coff,
many mouths.
coffee is my other sin. Please support it.
There is that. Um, this will be available in podcast format where all good podcasts are found, everywhere except for Apple Podcasts. Probably by next week or so.
Yes, when I get actually time to edit.
Sounds good. Thank you very much, my friend. It's been a
Thank
pleasure
you.
as always.
As always,
Good night, everybody.
good night.
Woo!
Dumpstat.